So hello once again, people. So right now we will be talking about the set of integers. So again, are you ready? So previously we discussed about the operations on sets and the basic ideas about sets. Now, of course, for our second topic we have here, this is what we call the set of integers. So are you ready? I should be hearing right now yes, right? Okay, so let's go. This set of integers consists of all positive whole numbers and all negative whole numbers and zero. So again, when we talk about the set of integers, it contains the negative whole numbers, the positive whole numbers, and of course the zero. So we have here, no, starting sa 0 to positive, which are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or the counting numbers. And we also have here the negative whole numbers, which are negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, and so on. Integers that are greater than 0 are called positive integers, while integers that are less than 0, we call that negative integers. A positive number can be written with a positive sign, kini siya, no? A positive sign, but it does not need to have a sign. So, pwede ra walay sign na positive, pwede sad butangan nato ng ini na sign, pero most of all, dili na nato siya need no ng plus na sign. Example, 1, 3, 5, 7. So these are mga positive numbers. Now, for a negative number, must be written with a negative sign. So, importante yun, if we are talking about negative numbers, we are actually talking about the negative sign. Examples, negative 2, negative 35, negative 77, negative 102, and negative 3,102. So, these are examples of negative number. Okay, 0 is neither positive nor negative. So, usahay makadungog ko before, no, na naimingon nga, hoy, ang answer ba kay positive 0? Or ang answer ba kay negative 0? So, as what I have said earlier, that is neither positive nor negative. Walay sign ang 0, it's just a neutral. Okay? Integers can also be shown by locating them as points on a number line. On a horizontal line number or number line, positive integers are to the right of 0. So, diri no, nata diri 0, ang pa-right nato are all positive integers. Ang pa-left nato are all negative integers if we were gonna talk about number lines. The number associated with a point on a number line is the coordinate of the point. Again, that is the coordinate of the point. So we have here, no, kini siya, kini 4, no? Diri naka-indicate. That's the coordinate of the point. The point on the number line assigned to 0 is called the origin. So, kining naa sa center or the origin is 0. So, kung kanang 0 diha is we call that origin or naa sa center. Numbers that are of the same distance from 0 but on opposite sides of 0 is called opposite. So, like for example here, the opposite of negative 4 is 4. Again, the opposite of negative 4 is 4. No, the same distance from the origin. So, gikan sa 0, padong diri na ay 4. Gikan sa 0, padong diri na ay 4. So, the opposite of negative 4 is 4. The opposite of negative 2 is 2. The opposite of negative 1 is 1. Okay, you just have to try this. Okay, we have there the opposite of 2 is 2. The opposite of negative 3 is 3. The opposite of 15 is negative 15. The opposite of 120 is negative 120. The opposite of 77 is negative 77. And the opposite of 0 is still 0 pa rin. Do you have any questions? Integers are also used to describe situations involving temperature, profit or loss, time or before or after, a lift of a space shuttle, and elevation of land. In all of these examples, integers are used to count positive and negative units. So we have here an example. So first, 27 degrees Celsius above 0 degree Celsius. So of course, the answer is 27, or that's positive 27 because it says above. So it's greater than 0. For letter B, we have 13 degrees Celsius or below 0 degrees Celsius. That's negative 13 because that's below 0 degrees Celsius, which means that is less than 0. And that's negative. Now, letter C, 400 degrees Celsius below 0 degrees Celsius, that's negative 400. 1,735 degrees Celsius above 0 degrees Celsius, that's positive 1,735. And we also have there 97 degrees Celsius above 0, that's still positive 97. And we also have here example number 2. So a loss of 1 peso, that's negative 1 since we are talking about kung ano nakuhaan. Letter B, a profit of 300 pesos, so that's 300 or positive 300. A gain of 450 meters, that means nadugangan, so that's positive 450. A gain of 1,503, that's positive 1,503. And a loss of 300 kilometers, that's negative 300. Now, we also have example number 3. So, 211 pesos deposit in a bank. So, that's, since you deposit it, so that's positive 211. 2,300 withdraw in a bank. So, that's, di mo gikuha. So, that's negative 200 pesos. Okay. Do you have any questions, clarifications, or violent reactions? Now let's go to plotting points. Again, are you ready in plotting our points now? Okay, let's go. So we have here plotting point is marking the coordinate on the number line. So you just have to mark the coordinate in the number line. Just like this one. 0, this is for 0, this is for here, gimark na to, and this is negative 6, and this is negative 4. So example number 1, point Z corresponds to a number 5 units to the right from the origin. So data 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we mark 5 there. And of course, we have there, point M is 7 units to the left from point Z. So which means to the left, no? 7 units to the left from point Z. So dari raman si point Z diri, so magbilang ng tanang 7 units to the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So manang diri sa negative 2 si point M nato. Point A is the origin. So we have here origin is 0, right? The center. So we have there point A. Point P is the additive inverse of point Z. So again, point P is the additive inverse of point Z. So we have there point Z is 5. So our point P is negative 5. Point G is a hallway between point M and point A. So we have here, again, point G daw is a hallway, or halfway pala, sorry. Halfway between M and between point M and point A. So, kanang si G ang ato center. Between 2 and 0. Or negative 2. Now, do you have any questions again? Okay, if none, so let's proceed. Now, let's talk about absolute value. The absolute value of an integer is equal to its distance from 0. Again, the absolute value of an integer is equal to its distance from 0. Its concept is so important in mathematics that it has its own symbol. So the absolute value of x is written as kanang duha ka laong. No? Butangan ang numbers ng kanang duha gani ka straight. Okay, absolute value. So we have here example number 1. Find each absolute value, letter A, the absolute value of 5. Since 5 is 5 units from 0, the absolute value of 5 is 5. Again, the absolute value of 5 is 5. Or we are just talking about the distance, no? Kalayuan. So, ang absolute value ng 5 is 5 from 0. Yung ato bilangon, di ka diri si 5. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, that's 5. The absolute value of negative 5, no? The answer is still 5. Nga naman, kung gikan ta sa 0, inigbilang na to padong sa negative 5, that's 5. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 pa rin. The absolute value of 3 is 3. The absolute value of negative 3 is 3 pa rin. The absolute value of 0 is 0. Now, do you have any questions? Okay, if not, let's... Okay, so we have here example number 1. Find the value of each expression. So we have the absolute value of 9 plus the absolute value of negative 2. So we have there, kung unsa nato kada usa ang answer nila, and then addition nato sila i-add. So the absolute value of 9 is 9. The absolute value of negative 2 is 2. And if we add them, 9 plus 2, that's 11. Example number 2, we have there negative 7 minus the absolute value of negative 7 minus the absolute value of 3. So that is, the absolute value of negative 7 is 7, and the absolute value of 3 is still 3. And we have to copy the minus sign. And 7 minus 3, that's equal to 4. Now we also have here the absolute value of negative 17 minus the absolute value of negative 12. So the absolute value of negative 17 is 17. We copy the minus sign here. And the absolute value of negative 12, that is positive 12. So if we subtract them, 17 minus 12, that's equal to 5. Of course, for multiplication, we have here the absolute value of negative 2 times the absolute value of negative 4. So we will find muna the value of that particular absolute value. Well, the absolute value of negative 2 is positive 2, and the absolute value of negative 4 is positive 4. And we copy the sign or the multiplication sign, and we multiply them both. 2 times 4, that's equal to 8. Now, example number 5. Negative 10, the absolute value of negative 10 divided by the absolute value of negative 5. And the absolute value of negative 10, that's 10. The absolute value of negative 5, that's 5. And we copy the division the sign there. 10 divided by 5, that's equal to 2. Okay, if we have here this one, nga nino, nasa sulod yun ang absolute value. So 10 minus 21, or the absolute value of 10 minus 21. First, ato anay siya i-subtract. Adiscern nato ko ng ijang absolute value. So we have there 10 minus 21, that's negative 11, and then the absolute value of negative 11 is 11. Now, do you have any questions? If none, let's proceed. Right now, let's discuss about inequality. So, are you ready? So, an inequality is a mathematical statement that contains the symbols greater than or equal, less than or equal, equals, and not equals. So, this one here, no, is read as x is greater than 0. So, kung asa ang iyang baba no nagatubang, but pasabot kana siya nga iyang gitubangan na variables or mga numbers are greater than compared sa katong na tunong sa kini na area. So, if kinsay matunong diri sa iya baba, that means kana siya diri na mga part are greater than compared sa diri sa left side. So we have here, this is read as x is less than 0. So again, 0 is greater than x, but x is less than 0. So since kay, kung kinsa ang atubangan gani diri sa iyang kuan, that means less than siya. So x is less than 0. We also have here, x is less than or equal to 0. And this one is read as x is equal to 0. This one also is read as x is not equal to 0. So do you have any questions? If you don't have any questions, then let's proceed to the inequality. So an inequality is used when comparing, translating different mathematical sentences, including integers. If integers are graphed on a horizontal number line, the number to the right of another is the greater number. So we have here, no? So an example. So replace each box with less than or greater than or equal. So is 5, then we have there the box in 4. What is the answer? Of course, that's 5 is greater than 4. Now for this one here, what do you think is the answer? Negative 6 and negative 7. So, pag maghisgutan ng mga negative na numbers, the more makadako ang numbers, the more magkagamay ang ijang value. Pag negative ang ato isgutan. So, this is negative 6 is greater than to negative 7. Okay? Again, mas dako ang negative 6 kaysa sa negative 7. Kay magkadako ang numbers sa negative, magkagamay ija value. Negative 8 and positive 4, of course. Okay, mas dako si 4 compared sa negative 8. Negative 4 and 4, of course, that is greater than. Or I mean, negative 4 is less than 4, but 4 is greater than negative 4. How about this one? 10 over 2 and 2. So if we divide 10 over 2, that becomes 5. So that means 5 is greater than 2, or 10 over 2 is greater than 2. 24 over 3. Of course, this is equal because if we divide 24 to 3, that is equal to 8. So 24 over 3 is equal to 8. Now, do you have any questions? Okay, so two important terms are common in equality, no problems. The phrase at most means less than or equal. The phrase at least means greater than or equal. The term, so for example, the team T must have at least 8 members. So that is T is greater than or equal to 8. The height H must be at most 6'3". That translation there is T is less than or equal to 8. Now, do you still have any questions?